Dear friends, in just a few short hours, we will be Zochem Eretz Hashem to welcome the Yom Tov of Sukkos. And the Torah, when discussing this Yom Tov, mentions the concept of Simcha in three different psukim, three different times. That although we know that there is a mitzvah to rejoice on every one of our Yom Tovim, but by Sukkos, the Torah goes out of its way to mention it three times. Three different times the Torah tells us that we have an obligation to be joyous on the Yom Tov of Sukkos, which indicates to us that again, although there is a obligation to be joyous of Simcha on every Yom Tov, but Sukkos is something unique. Sukkos has something special. There's a greater intensity of joy on Sukkos. Asks the Divrei Chaim, the Sanzarav, so what is unique about the Simcha of Sukkos? How is it different than the mitzvah of Simcha that we have on Pesach or on Shavuos? And the Sanzarav Divrei Chaim says something so beautiful, and I quote you, he explains, Kol inyonei Rosh Hashanah v'Yom Kippurim hu lahasir masa chamavdil me'averos. The Rebbe says something amazing. You know, when we think about our sins, our averos, so often we think about that the major fallout of our averos are the onshim, the punishments that they generate, right? Every sin has a repercussion. So every avera, every chait has an onesh, has a punishment. So often we assume that our avoda through tshuva, or the essence of tshuva, is to remove the onshim, is to remove all of the punishments, to give ourselves a blank slate, a clean slate, which of course is true. But the Divrei Chaim says there's something much more profound about what sin does. And sin separates. When I commit an avera, I create a distance between myself and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the real fallout of sin. It's not the onesh. You see, onesh, in interest of punishments, this might sound strange, but no matter how grievous the sin or how intense the punishment, there's a mechanism to go ahead and absolve myself of that. There's a process for tshuva. The real challenge of tshuva, the real difficulty of the fallout of sin is that I distance myself from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then comes Rosh Hashanah, comes Yom Kippur, or comes Chodesh Elul. I wake up, so to speak, out of that slumber, like the Rambam says, Uri Yishene Mishinaschem. I wake up and I realize, my gosh, I've wandered so far away from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I started out so close, and then somehow over the year I wandered away. And the essence of the avodah of tshuva, like the word tshuva, to return, is to bridge that gap, is to come back to HaKadosh Baruch Hu again, in the words of the Divrei Chaim, lahasir mesech hamavdil me'averos, to take down the wall, or to take down the curtain that separates between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a result of the averos I have committed. And the whole avodah of Elul, of Rosh Hashanah, Aseret Yimei Tshuva, Yom Kippur, is all to come close. In fact, again, this is why the Rambam says, fascinating, Rambam says, Hilchos Tshuva, that although there's a mitzvah to do Tshuva all year around, at the end of the day, there is a more intense mitzvah on Aseret Yimei Tshuva. Between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Why? And the Rambam quotes the pasuk, Dershu Hashem b'hi matzo. Seek out Hashem when He makes Himself available. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu Kiviyachol moves Himself closer to me to help me bridge the gap a little bit. But the entire avoda of the Yomim Noraim is to take down that wall, to take down that curtain that separates between me and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The entire avodah of the Yomim Noraim is to come back home, is to come back to the Ribono Shel Olam, is to reignite that relationship through beautiful spiritual proximity. And therefore says the Divrei Chaim something so beautiful. After we go through the process of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and we are successful in cleansing ourselves of the punishments, and we are successful in cleansing ourselves of our averos, and we are successful in getting for ourselves a new start, we've also brought down the wall, we've brought down the curtain, and now we have that beautiful spiritual proximity to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'lachein, achar kach ha-mitzvah l'smoach b'simcha zu, asher zachinu lipater me'ibos u'lezicho chanafesh. Says Divrei Chaim something so beautiful. Sukkos is the time that we celebrate this closeness. The whole Elul and the whole Rosh Hashanah and the whole Yom Kippur, I'm trying to bridge the gap. I'm trying to bring down the wall. I'm trying to remove the curtain. That's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like David HaMelech says, Vani kirvas Elokim li tov. At the end of the day, what do I want? What do I want in this world? I want to be close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What do we say every morning? We've been saying it since Rosh Chodesh Elul. Achos sha'alti me'ez Hashem osa v'kesh. David HaMelech says, I have one request. What's the one request? Shifti bebeis Hashem kol yemei chayai. I want to live in the house of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So the Mefarshim ask, really, David, that's the only thing you have to ask? That's the only thing you need? You only need Shifti bebeis Hashem to dwell in the house of God? You don't need Parnasa and Refuah and Shalom Bayis and Atzlacha for your children, all the stuff that we daven for? Shidduchim, all you don't need any of that, David HaMelech? And the Mefarshim explains so beautifully, David HaMelech understood that if you have Shifti bebeis Hashem, if you have closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you have everything. Everything else flows from that. Now, that's not to say that closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu necessarily gives you every single thing that you want in life. But closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you a lot, and it gives you proper perspective as to how to deal with the things you don't have. So, there's only one thing I really need in this world, which is I need a close relationship with Hashem. Shifti bebeis Hashem kol yemei chayai. That's what I need. And if I have that, everything else flows out of there. And the Divrei Chaim says the avodah of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is to establish that closeness. So Yom Kippur ends, and Baruch Hashem, I enter back into the world, but I enter back into the world a different kind of person, a different person. And dear friends, even if we don't feel different, we are different. We're so fundamentally different. And the Divrei Chaim says the Simcha of Sukkos is the Simcha of closeness. That's the Simcha. The Torah goes out of its way. Right? We have all the Simcha. Why? Because the greatest Simcha in life is when you're close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Sukkos is the Yom Tov in which we celebrate the success of our Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And to give that closeness almost a physical form, what do? We physically move closer, so to speak. I leave the confines of my home, and I, so to speak, move closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What does the sukkah represent? The Zohar brings down that the sukkah represents the tzela dehemenusa, the shadow, the shade, the protective embrace of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So literally, again, I'm physically moving myself closer. Over the course of Elul and Rosh Hashanah and Azeres Yemei Tshuva and Yom Kippur, I was moving myself spiritually closer. Right? The whole avodah was shifti bebeis Hashem. Bring down the walls of separation. Bring down the curtains of separation. Bring myself spiritually close. And comes Sukkos. I've been successful. I've brought myself spiritually close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, I'm going to bring my body along with me. Now I'm going to come physically close as well. I'm going to leave the home. I'm going to enter into the protective embrace and shadow of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my sukkah. So now not only is my soul close by virtue of a successful Elul, Rosh Hashanah, Aseres Yemei Tshuva, and Yom Kippur, but now I'm going to bring my body close. And when I bring my soul close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my body close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, my entire essence is now close with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And when that happens, Ein Simcha Gedola Mizo. And perhaps this is why the Torah mentions Simcha 3 times when it comes to Sukkos. Because on Sukkos we celebrate really 3 levels of Simcha. The first level of Simcha is the fact that we are spiritually close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The second level of Simcha is the fact that we are physically close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the third level of Simcha, now that I'm spiritually close, and now that I'm physically close, there is no telling what I can accomplish. That third Simcha is anticipatory Simcha. That's the Simcha, that's the joy that I feel, not for what I have now, but for what I'm going to do with my newfound spiritual and physical closeness. So yes, the Torah goes out of its way. 1 Simcha, v'samachtem b'chagecha, 2 Simchas, v'yisa ach sameach, 3 Simchas, spiritually close, physically close, and anticipatory Simcha for what I'm going to accomplish. And this, dear friends, is the beautiful Yom Tov that is starting in just a couple of hours. An opportunity to celebrate what we accomplished in the past, an opportunity to celebrate a new closeness of bringing our physicality. We bring our whole physical lives into the sukkah, closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And a third Simcha, an anticipatory Simcha. Spiritually close, I'm physically close, no telling what I'm going to accomplish. And Chavra, we know that Klal Yisrael needs these 3 levels of Simcha. There is so much heartbreak, and there is so much pain, and there is so much loss. And that is why it is our obligation, our mandate to make this a true Yom Tov of Simcha. Will we relate in terms of an external way a little bit differently? Sure, we have to, because Klal Yisrael is at war, Am Yisrael is at war. but the Simcha is going to be the same. The Simcha actually is going to be more acute. We have to amplify it. Greater spiritual Simcha, greater physical Simcha, greater anticipatory Simcha, because that's what Klal Yisrael needs. The way that Klal Yisrael fights Tzara is with Simcha. The way we deal with adversity is we amplify true and meaningful happiness. And the Yom Tov of Sukkot gives us these 3 avenues of Simcha. So we should be Zochim Eretz Hashem. That comes Kiddush tomorrow evening. Comes Kiddush first night of Sukkot. We enter in with a soul that is close, and now a body that is close, and filled with incredible excitement about what we're going to accomplish. We should be Zochim Eretz Hashem. That in the Zuchus of bringing all 3 levels of these Simcha, or all 3 levels of Simcha into our Sukkah, we should be Zochim to the greatest bracha of all. We should be Zochim to sit, as we say in benching, to sit in the Sukkah of Oro Shalev Yasan. We should be Zochim Eretz Hashem to sit in the Messianic Sukkah. We should be Zochim Eretz Hashem to see a year in which our precious hostages are returned, in which our holy soldiers are successful. B'chol ma'aseh yadehem. And Eretz Hashem, may we all be Zochim to sit in the great Sukkah, the Sukkah of Yerushalayim, the Sukkah of the Beis HaMikdash, the Sukkah of Mashiach B'mehera b'yameinu. Amen. Wishing everyone a beautiful, uplifting Yom Tov and a good Shabbos.